All right, so it's Theraband today. Hope everyone's got their Theraband, and we're going to start sitting down. So grab a seat. Yeah, I know, isn't that something different, you know? All right, I'm going to turn sideways a little bit. I want you to, yeah. If you need to, yeah, the floor's a very long way down. If you need to sit with thumb on a pillow or something like that, might be a little bit more comfortable. And then legs can be out long in front of you, or you can put the soles of your feet together and bend the knees, so kind of whatever feels comfortable to be able to sit up as tall as you can. So the idea is that you're able to let go of your legs and sit up tall. Holding towards the end of your band. So you want to have like maybe some dangly bits off the sides of your hands, nice and easy in terms of your tension, and your hands are just outside shoulder width. You're going to lift the arms up to the top of your head, above your head, and then come slowly down to your knees. And then lifting up, nice and tall. As you lift the arms up and down, you can just go at your own pace. When you lift, I want you to go up through your spine. So you're reaching up towards the ceiling as you're lifting up the hands above your head. The other thing you want to concentrate on doing is scooping your shoulder blades downwards, as if you're trying to retract them towards the bottom of your armpit, if that makes sense. So they kind of slide down your back as you lift your arms up and down. Growing tall through the crown of your head. And then if it feels okay for shoulders, you can maybe start going a little bit further back. You can pull on the band a little bit just to give yourself a little bit more range in the shoulders. So nice and tall, see how far back you can go. And then maybe you'll be able to get yourself all the way back so that your hands come all the way back down to the floor behind you. Maybe not, don't force it, as long as the shoulders feel okay doing that. And pulling out on the band to give yourself some more range. Okay, and coming up. Let's just do one more time. Going all the way back. And then coming back up and over to the front and just rest those arms down. I want you to hold on to the ends of your band and pop it around the arch of your feet. So just across there. It doesn't have to be flat or fancy or anything like that. If it rolls up, that's absolutely fine. You're going to roll your band around your hands once or maybe even twice, depending on how long your band is. You want to have quite a bit of tension on the band as you're sitting up tall. If your knees are bent, that's also fine. So whatever makes you kind of comfortable and sitting up straight if you can. So holding the arms out straight. And when you grow tall through your spine, and then row your arms back, elbows come towards your sides, you squeeze the shoulder blades together, and then you come slowly back forwards. That's it, back forwards. Squeezing the shoulder blades back and together, opening the chest as you row backwards. You want to be feeling like you're pushing your sternum forwards, but you're not arching into your lower back. So you're just squeezing the shoulder blades and forwards, relaxing into the neck. So you want to be using the middle of your back, not your shoulders, so not the top of your shoulders. Squeezing back and going forwards. Just 3 more. Opening the chest as you squeeze those elbows backwards. Go as far back as you can with the elbows, as long as you don't lift up into the shoulders. So the shoulders stay at the same height the whole way through the movement. And then just one more. There we go. And relax. And you can keep the band there, but now bend your knees so that your heels are on the mat. Here we go. Should be a little bit more comfortable if you're not comfortable sitting with the legs out straight. You're going to tuck the tailbone under, and I want you to go into your little half roll back. So you scooped into the tummy and your C curve into the spine. So holding yourself with your tummy muscles, turn your palms to face the ceiling. And now check that your band is well anchored on your feet. And bend the elbows towards your shoulders. The hands come towards your shoulders. And then come back down. Just adjust the tension as you need to. I need to make mine a little bit looser. So you're holding yourself there with your tummy muscles, not just hanging on the band. And then straighten. And bend the elbows. So you're just doing a nice basic bicep curl, but you're stabilizing with the tummy muscles. So pull the belly button towards the spine. Maybe breathe out as you bend the elbows. And just bear in mind that if you don't have a great anchor on the band, it could end particularly badly for you. Here we go. 3 more. This is these visions of these bands snapping, but they so seldom do, I promise. Last 2. And last one. There we go. And relaxing all the way forward. You can straighten the legs or keep the knees bent, but just fold yourself forwards over your legs and round your spine, holding it there for a few seconds. So trying to get a nice curve into the spine, which means that as you lean forward, you feel a bit of a stretch down the back lines of your body. Relax your arms to the floor so you can let go of the band. And in that C curve forwards, I want you to slowly start restacking your spine. So start building each vertebra back up, one on top of the other, until you're sitting up nice and tall. You can have your knees bent or out to the sides or whatever feels good for the knees. Tuck the chin in, roll the shoulders down, and just slide your hands forwards along the mat or along your legs as far as you can, getting a nice big reach forwards. You're getting a big stretch down the back line. So this is basically the bottom of your roll down position. And then restack your spine, pull the tummy nice and tight, and sitting up nice and tall. Growing tall through the top of your head. Rolling down one more time. Tuck the chin in, stretch those arms as far forwards as you can. Hold for just a few seconds. And then rolling slowly all the way back up, growing tall through your spine. And you can grab hold of the ends of the band again. Leave it there over your feet. So don't let it disappear there. You can bend the knees again if they weren't bent already. That's perfect. And this time holding so that you've got just a little bit hanging out the side. So you don't have a huge amount of initial tension on the band. Tuck your tailbone under, C-curve the spine. So a half little roll back. There we go. Your arms can be out straight. You want your knees to be bent. You just scoot yourself forwards towards the front edge of your mat. So just walk your bum forwards a little bit. There you go. You've got a bit of space behind you. You're going to scoop that belly again. So C-curve the spine, bend the knees. So you're doing your half roll back. There we go. Now pulling with your left arm, I want you to row. So remember we did the one rowing, the 2 arms rowing. Now we're going to do 1 arm rowing. Rotate your shoulders to the left side and then straighten that arm and center your body. Pull on the right arm, rotate to the right, shoulders rotate, and straighten back. Keep your body at the same height. So you don't want to be leaning forwards as you come back to the center. You're just rotating on that same angle of your spine and come back to the center. Just 1 more to each side. And come back. This is less about the arms and more about the rotation that you're creating around the spine. Last one. And roll yourself all the way up, sitting up nice and tall. We've got 1 more set to go. So exactly the same thing. Tuck the tailbone under, roll yourself back. See how far back you can lean. So get yourself into quite a tensioned position with the tummy muscles. This time start going to the other side. So right arm first, roll your shoulders to the right. And then come back to the center. Don't forget to breathe. Roll the shoulders as you pull back on the band. Make sure you're getting a big twist into the spine. So you're using a lot of oblique muscles. And forwards, 1 more to each side. Relaxing the neck. Keep the heels on the ground. Don't let them lift. Last one to the left. And then come back to the center. Pull yourself all the way back up. And you can fold yourself over your legs just for a few seconds just to relieve the tummy muscles. All right, so put the band down where it is. Don't worry about it too much. You can pop the, I keep saying palms of your feet. How stupid can you be? Okay, so the palms of your feet together, soles of your feet together. Legs can flop out to the side if that feels okay. I want you to sit up as tall as you can. You're going to hold on to the shins for the first little bit. Pull yourself up as tall as you can get your spine to go. Roll the chin down, look to your belly, and slump yourself forwards. So you're going back into that little roll down kind of position, except now your hips are a bit wider, so you're going to feel maybe a bit of a tension in the hips and less behind the legs. Restack your spine, lift yourself up, and then pull just a little bit on the front of your shins so that you can open your chest up towards the ceiling and look up towards the ceiling. So you get a bit of a back extension, and then you can round your spine, going into your little C curve roll down. Hang there for just a second or two, trying to tuck yourself in as tightly as you can, and then restack your spine all the way up, building up to the crown of your head, and then lift your breastbone up towards the ceiling, maybe looking up just a little bit. So you're pulling on your legs just a bit so that you can get a bit of a kind of counter arch with the back. And then tucking in, we've got one more to go. Rounding the spine as tightly as you can. So it's a very active rounding. You're pulling the tummy in, you're tucking the chin in, and then you're rebuilding the spine, coming tall through the top of your head. Lift your chest towards the ceiling. Lift your gaze maybe, and then find your neutral position with your spine. You can just kind of shake it out a little bit on that one. All right, take the band again, pop it around your feet, back to where it was. Now scoot yourself right to the front of your mat. We're going to do some good old favorite roll-ups, which is quite nice when you've got a Theraband. So you've got the band around the arches of your feet, that's it. Quite a lot of tension if you want a bit more help, but if roll downs or roll-ups are quite easy for you, then you can always just let the band be quite slack. So sitting up nice and tall, the first movement is to scoop the belly, roll back onto your tailbone, and see if you can lower yourself down towards the mat, each vertebra going down individually. Shoulders come down, head comes down. This time the arms don't go above your head, obviously. You breathe in, and as you breathe out, you start lifting your chin, look to your legs and roll yourself all the way up and fold yourself forward over your legs. That's one breath out. So see if you can find your breath work a little bit on this one. As you sit up tall, you breathe in. You breathe out as you tuck your tailbone under. Lower yourself down onto the mat. Try and keep the heels down. Breathe in. And as you breathe out, you lift the chin, lift the chest, roll yourself all the way back up and fold yourself over your legs. Breathe in, sit up tall and out as you roll back. Don't forget to tuck the tailbone to get a nice pelvic tilt. Keep going, we've got about 3 to go, rolling up. Try and get a deep connection into those lower abdominals as you go down in particular. So you really want to scoop into your tummy muscles. Lifting the chin, breathe out as you come up will make it a little bit easier. Hold yourself forward so you get a little bit of a stretch, and then sitting up tall and scoop yourself back down. Let's just do one more. Up we go. That looks particularly excellent, Dad. Fold yourself forward. And just one more. Rolling all the way back, scoop into that low belly, and then stay there and relax. You've got your band around your feet. You can lift your legs up. So just slide your heels along the mat and lift your legs up to tabletop. And then I want you to take the band off your feet. You can hold the band so that it's just outside shoulder width apart. So you might, if you've got some dangling down the sides, it's a fair amount dangling down. Otherwise, you can curl it around your hands. That's fine if you want to tidy it up a little bit. You've got your hands just outside shoulder width. Bring your legs up to tabletop. So they're both up to tabletop. Lower your hands down so that the band is resting on the top of your shins. Your arms are straight. We're going to go into 100. It's called your 100. You're going to tuck the chin in, roll the shoulders up. So come up into your chest lift. And then for 5 breaths in, you're going to pump the arms as you breathe 5 breaths in and 5 breaths out. So if we go. So straight arms, try and get the tension out of your neck and try and stabilize the bounce in your legs if at all possible. Almost done. One more cycle in. And pause, hug the knees up to your chest. Lower the head down to the mat and roll the head side to side, just to relieve that neck tension. Nicely done. It's quite a tough one to stop the bounce. And I definitely noticed if I lost concentration in terms of the stabilizing, then I suddenly saw my legs bouncing like mad. So you've got to be quite focused to keep those legs from bouncing up and down. Okay, you've got your band. Pop it over one foot. Let's put it over the right foot, over the arch, and slide. In fact, let's keep the left knee bent for now. You're going to straighten that right leg as much as you can. So it doesn't really matter what the angle is of your right leg. Move your left heel quite far away from your bum. So it's not too tucked up. You actually want it fairly far away, just to give you a little bit of space. You'll see what we're going to do. It's a hip circles exercise. So you're going to slide your right leg across your midline, bring it down towards the top of your left knee, bring it all the way down towards the floor, and you're doing like a kind of an oval. So it's not a half circle, it's an oval. Now I find that my left leg gets in the way. So you could straighten down that left leg so that you've got a bit more space. You take that right leg over your body, bring it all the way back around and come up again. Try and anchor your elbows down onto the mat. So it's all about your leg moving and everything else staying nice and still. So your hips stay down on the ground the whole time. You stabilize with the lower tummy muscles. You can breathe out as you let that leg roll down and around and comes back up. And you pause briefly at the top of that movement. Just going to do one more and then you change direction. So going a little bit out to the side, scoop it around, let it come all the way back up and center and pause. And then you scoop it around. It's quite fun with the band because it gives you a little bit of like helpful tension actually. It helps to swing it back up. But focus on keeping your hips still. So you want your hips to stay grounded while your leg is moving around over your hips. Going all the way back up, just one more. Back to the center. You can lift your left leg up and just exchange places with the right leg. And pop your right leg down. If you want to have your right leg bent, you can. Otherwise, I prefer to have my right leg out straight. Anchor those elbows on the mat. Straighten that knee. So whether that means that your leg is lower down, that's fine. But try and get that leg as straight as you can. Bring your left leg across your midline. Sweep it down and around and come back up to the center and pause. Sweep it around and pause when you get back to the center. Focus on that hip stability. So you're keeping your tummy nice and tight. You're keeping your hips still as you can, as quiet as you can on the mat. Going back up to the center, all the way around. Go. Just two more. Nice big circles, but as much hip control as you can, and then change direction. So swooping around to the outside first and then coming back down. Remember to pause as you get to the top. So this may feel like a not particularly strenuous muscle exercise. It's more about your stabilizers. Got two to go. And last one, center it and bring that knee towards your chest. And you can just place that band down next to you. We're going to roll over onto your right side. Okay, let's see how this will going to be a little bit of a challenge. So take your band. Dad, you might want to just swing around for this one so your head's on the other end so that you are facing this way. It's a different one. Okay, so take a band, come up onto your hand and just maybe wrap the band around your hand once and then place your hand down quite far away from your hip, fingertips pointing to the wall, sort of at your head end. All right. Your knees are going to be stacked together, but your feet are split and your heels are kind of in line with your bum. Okay. Don't worry about your hip because you'll get off it now. Okay, is everyone okay? So you've got the band in one hand, you've got it anchored in the other hand. Checking we're okay here. You're going to lift, so I want you to squeeze your knees together. Squeeze into the armpit, and you're going to lift yourself into your side bend. Okay, so you're holding it there. Try and lift up into that little rainbow arch on the underside. Take your band in the other hand and wrap it around once so that you've got a little bit of tension. And I want you to just to lift that arm up to a T-junction and then come slowly back down. And lift and down. Try and be as quiet as you can in everything else. Check that you're not rolling your hips backwards like I was. Here we go. And one more. And lift. Slowly come down and sitting back down to that hip. You could, if you want to, you could probably put your noodle under one hand. We're going to do one more set. Is that uncomfortable on the wrist, or is it okay? And the knees, how are the knees? All right? Okay, it's everything else that's struggling. Okay, squeeze the knees together, squeeze into the armpit, lifting up into the waistline. Arm out in front of you and just rowing it out to the side. And come back. Try and keep everything as quiet as you can. And row up. Good. 4, 2 more. Try and keep your body in a nice straight line. That looks good from here. Last one. And slowly down and lower those hips all the way down. We can just swing around to the other side or roll yourself over. That's entirely up to you. So you should have a fairly similar tension on that side. Knees are stacked, feet are split. Okay. Here we go. So check that your feet are in line with your bum. Your knees are one on top of the other one. You want your hand pointing towards the wall away from you and quite far out from your hip. All right, squeeze those knees together. Squeeze into the armpit and then push those hips up towards the sky. Get a nice arch into that underside. Arm out straight in front of you and lifting it up to that T-junction and slowly down. Try and relax into the neck. And then just have a glance at your hips and check that they're not rolling back. And down. You've got 3 to go. If your neck is taking strain, you could look down towards your hand. Last 2. And one more. That looks excellent. Slowly down and lower those hips all the way down. And just take the pressure off that wrist for a second or 2. I'm going to try one more set. Okay. If you're battling with this one, you could go down onto your elbows. Sometimes that feels a little bit more comfortable. And then you can do exactly the same thing. Okay, so see how that feels. All right, although the diehards amongst us, lifting up, squeeze those knees, squeeze into the armpit, arm out in front, and lifting it up to that T-junction. Slowly down. Maybe bring that arm a little bit more underneath your shoulder there. Dad, you'll take less strain into the shoulder. There we go. Is that better? Maybe. Not sure anything improves this exercise. 5. Just one more. 6. Come slowly down with the hand and lower those knees or the hips slowly back down. Right, you can pop the band just in front of you for now. You might want to grab a bigger cushion to go under the legs, but you're going to swing the legs around to the other side again. That's it. So now you've got your legs right angles and right angles to your left. So you're going to go that way out. That's it. Okay. If you struggle with this position, then if your legs are going to the left, put something under your right bum and that'll lift it up a little bit. Does it feel all right? And you know, as good as it's going to feel. Sitting up nice and tall. So pull yourself on your left shin. You can hold onto your left shin to pull yourself up nice and straight. Take your right arm up to the ceiling and just tilting yourself over to the one side to get a nice stretch down the sidelines. Hold it there for a few seconds. Should feel hopefully fairly nice. Although this position is not great if you've got knee and significant hip issues. Hold it there and then come all the way back up. Right. Take your band again because it's a band class. Wrap it around the hand once or twice. This is going to be an easier modification, so it's going to be more of a focus into the shoulder. I want you in your same position as we did the side bend. So you're anchoring, the one hand has got your band underneath it, the other arm up in front of you, and you're going to just open exactly the same thing as we just did. This time, as you go back, see if you want to maybe rotate the shoulders back a little bit. So you're getting more of a spiral tension. You're opening with the arm and then you rotate the shoulders. Try and keep it out of the neck though. So you don't want your neck to get involved and lifting the shoulders towards the ears. This might actually feel quite nice. Don't force it to go too far, and don't worry too much about what your hips are doing. If they lift it up or down, or don't worry about that. It's more about getting a nice rotation into the spine. And let's just do one more. Relax the neck and the shoulders. And then coming back to the center and relax. Bring that hand a little bit closer to your hip, so your right hand closer to your hip. And then I want you to take, so loosen the band a little bit. Take the band, so your arm is now above your head. So you're framing your head with your top arm, and you've got that band still anchored under your hand. You're going to straighten that elbow, and the band will go behind your head. That's it. And then come slowly down. Your elbow stays straight as you just bend and straighten it. No, your elbow doesn't stay straight. Your elbow stays still. And just increase the tension as you need to. So you want to be feeling this one working in the triceps, so the back of that arm. The tummy is nice and tight. You can't just be saggy everywhere else, as much as it would be nice. Last two, I think. You should feel a bit of a burn, sort of at the back of that elbow. And then bring that arm all the way down, and you can just give it a roll or two and shake it out a little bit. Swing those legs around to the other side, give the hips a bit of a break. So if you need padding, then pop it under your left bum cheek. Here we go, placing that hand quite far away from your hip again, anchoring the band under your hand. Here we go. Remember, you're going to have this one. Oh no, thank you, Dad, that's so helpful. Hold on to your right shin. You're going to take that class while I'm in Durban that next week, okay? Take your left arm up to the ceiling, stretch up, and tilting over to the side. I'm so glad you reminded me of this one. It's so lovely. Definitely. It's going to be an online class from Dad. It's going to be awesome. Hold it there for, in fact, I might get voted out. I better not do that. Hold for a few seconds. I'm going to just a nice deep breath in and out, and then coming all the way up. And now you can line up that band. So anchor it under your hand, far away from your hip, fingers pointing towards the wall away from you. Make sure you've got a fair amount of tension into the band. Here we go. And we just open that hand out to the side. Kind of check in with yourself, see how that shoulder feels. And so long as the shoulder feels okay, you pull out to the side and rotate those shoulders back as far as it feels okay. You want it to feel comfortable going back. And lift, open, twist. Keep the shoulders away from the ears, so you don't want to be hunching up into the shoulders. And twist and rotate. There we go. So you're getting quite a lot of work across your middle back. So those spine rotators are working quite hard. But it shouldn't be uncomfortable. It should actually feel like a work, but a release. If that makes any sense. Almost done. Two more. Don't forget to breathe. Last one. Rotate as far as you can, and bringing it all the way back. Bending that elbow. Frame your face with that right hand. Make sure you've got enough tension on the band. And then just straightening the elbow, but keeping the elbow nice and still. Okay. I want you to squeeze into your left armpit a little bit too. So you don't want to be sagging into the shoulder. Get a good strong shoulder position on that left side too. Go. And try and look straight ahead if you possibly can. So you don't want to be looking down, making space for the band. Rather let the band go, or your hand go further back. Keeping your spine neutral, the shoulders stay strong. Oh, it's harder on this side for me, my non-dominant side. Last two. Go. And just one more. Up we go. And slowly down. Rotate that arm forwards and just shrug out that shoulder a little bit. Oh, okay. Need to swing the legs around to the other side. So we're doing lots of rotation because you don't want to get stuck in one position. Point of no return. Okay, so take both of your hands. You're going to place them to the outside of your right hip. That's it. You want them to be square to the right hip. Square the shoulders to your hands. And then start uncurling your tailbone. So you start pushing your pelvis forwards just a little bit. And then tucking the tailbone under, push into your hands and rounding your spine. But you'll find you can't round it too much, and that's okay. And uncurling the spine, lifting your gaze, lift your chest through that gap, and then tuck the tailbone under, round the spine, and extend again. Lifting the chest, lift the gaze a little bit. So you do a little bit of an extension and quite a lot of a rounding. And coming forwards and lift the chest, lift the gaze and round. Just two more. You're getting a spiral mobilization. So after doing the tension work with the band, this should feel fairly nice. But it's quite a rigid movement, so you don't get a lot of range. It's an important mobilization. And then you can just find your center again, come back to the center, swing the legs around, and go over to the other side. So lots of changing positions. It's actually quite a good thing to get those hips to just move a little bit. Right, so take both your hands, place into the outside of the left leg, get a bit of a rotation to the spine and try and square your shoulders to your hands. There we go. And then you're going to start uncurling the tailbone, push the hips forwards, lift the chest through the gap a little bit if you can, and lift your gaze. You get that arch into the spine, and then tuck the tailbone under, rounding the spine, push into your hands, and look to your belly. And just going at your own pace, you want to feel mobilization happening through the spine, and you have to go at your own sort of speed for what feels safe and what feels comfortable and what feels like it's releasing the tension through those spiral lines. Lifting up, chest forwards, open the collarbones, and remember to breathe. And extending the spine, lifting the gaze, lifting the chest, opening the collarbone. And rounding just one more time. Good, lift and twist. These rotational spiral lines are particularly good for scoliosis or even gentle curvature in the spine. And come back to your center. Lift yourself up, come to the center, swing both of your legs to the front. Hug yourself into a tiny little ball. Lift the feet if you can, and let's just balance on those sit bones, on the bum bones. Round yourself as tightly as you can. So now you're just kind of evening out those spiral lines by just doing a straightforward, tight as a ball. So you're stretching out those back lines of the body. Holding for just a few more seconds. And then you can place your feet down on the ground. You can tuck your band to the front edge of your mat and lie yourself down on your tummy. Okay, there we go, right. So your hands are going to be under your shoulders, so your elbows are popping up, and then just wriggle them outside of your shoulder width slightly. You're going to breathe in. I want you to squeeze your bum just a little bit so you're anchoring your pelvis. Draw your tummy muscles in, push up into your hands. In fact, move your hands forwards just a little bit on the mat. Push up into the hands, and we're going to go into a swan stretch. So you're kind of extending your spine, but your tummy needs to be pulled quite tight so that you're protecting your back. You are getting a bit of a hyperextension, lifting the chest forwards if you can, opening the collarbones. And you only go as far as it feels okay. So you can slide your hands as far forward or as wide as you like on the mat. As long as it doesn't feel uncomfortable, and then slowly rolling down, placing almost as if you're trying to place each vertebra down onto the mat through your tummy. And let's just do one more of those. Push into your hands, pull the tummy tight, squeeze the bum just a little bit. So push yourself up nice and high. Pull that tummy in, squeeze the bum. So you should feel like there's a bit of a compression into the back, but it's not an uncontrolled compression. It's not painful. This is not a great one if you've got any disc issues. So we wouldn't do this with people with slipped discs and stuff like that. But none of us have that level of messy spine, so that's a good thing. And rolling slowly back down, release that pressure into the lower back. And maybe just wriggle your bum a bit side to side so that you can loosen up any tension that built up there. All right, taking a hold of your band, you're going to hold onto the band, and I want it out with long arms in front of you. So you can kind of scrunch up the ends. Your hands are going to be in a wide V above your head. So they're not too narrow. There we go. Okay. So your hands can be fairly wide actually with this one. That's it. All right, we're going to go into a little baby cobra. So squeeze the bum, breathe in, and just hover your head away from the mat. So try and find that middle back connection just under the shoulder blades. Hold it there for a few seconds, and then I want you to see if you can lift from the back of your shoulders. You're going to float your arms up, and just hold it there. So see if you can keep that height in the chest while you breathe, so you're not holding the breath. Your shoulders are wide enough that you can be soft in your neck. You're squeezing your bum, so you're not using your lower back too much. And then we're going to come slowly back down and just relax for a second or two. Maybe wiggle the bum side to side a little bit. And we've got two more of these. We're going to add on. So if that didn't feel too comfortable, you could always tuck your arms in. So you could bend the elbows and make it a shorter base. Otherwise, keep your arms out there. Breathe in, squeeze the bum, lift the head and the chest. Hold that connection into the middle and the upper back, so just below the shoulder blades. Float those arms up if you can. And now see if you can pull with your left arm out to the side, just to a T-junction, and then bring it back to your low V. And then take your right arm out to the side and bring it back to your V. Keep their shoulders away from the ear, one more to each side. And come back, last one. Relaxing the neck, squeezing the bum, back to your V, and roll slowly down. And relax. And we're going to do just one more, so exactly the same thing, if you could manage that. Otherwise, you could take it back a few notches and just do little baby cobras. So breathing in, squeeze the bum. Pull the tummy a little bit tight, float the head, lift the chest, shoulders away from the ears. Lift the hands if you can, and let's pull down with one hand to the side, and then bring it back forwards. Other hand out to the side. Squeeze from the armpits, shoulders stay away from the ears. And one more. And I think last one, come back to the center and lower yourself all the way down. Well done. You can leave that band there, pop the hands under your shoulders, let the elbows pop up, and push yourself up and all the way back into your rest position. So just round your spine a little bit as you go down towards your heels, and then stretch your arms as far forwards as you can, getting a nice length into the spine and a good release into that lower back. Nice deep breaths in. So you were trying to expand into your back of your lung space. So you're stretching between the ribs as you breathe in, and then you're closing the ribs as far as you can to empty your breath completely from your lungs. And one more breath cycle. And then you can pull yourself all the way up and over, lying back down onto your back. There we go. Don't worry too much about your mat. Don't worry about your band. We're going to just cross your one knee your one ankle onto your other leg. So it doesn't really matter which one you start with. You know this good old classic glute stretch. So lift up the legs that was left on the mat. Hold behind that thigh and get that knee up as closely as you can towards your chest. So you want to get a big stretch into the opposite glute muscle or the hip, and hold it there for a few seconds. And as you feel that hip stretch starting to release a little bit, keep that knee up tightly and see if you can maybe arch the lower back just a little bit. And holding it there. And then if you want to, you could push with your one elbow onto the inner thigh and just push that knee out a little bit further. Nice deep breaths. Being almost as aggressive as you can with your hip stretches. Tension around the pelvis has a huge ripple effect. So going all the way up the spine or all the way down the limbs. So it can cause knee and ankle problems, and then can cause all sorts of spinal, shoulder, neck issues. And then you can slowly release that. Just hug that one knee. I don't actually know which knee we're all on. We're all on different knees. John, carries on your right. Okay, perfect. So holding onto your right knee, tightly up to your chest. Take your left leg all the way flat down onto the floor. Here we go. So you're getting a nice deep hip flexion on this one. Holding that stretch as tightly as you can. And then just let that right knee slide out towards your right armpit just a little bit. You could hook onto that right knee with your elbow. I want you to try and keep your left shoulder down. So you don't let that side roll over, but you're almost trying to get the direction of your right kneecap going to the floor behind your right shoulder. It's directional, not intentional. It's never going to happen. Well, let's never say never. Hey, you never know, we might be dancers yet. Hold it there for just a few more seconds. Very important hip mobility, this one. And then you can slowly slide that knee back in. Just keep it moving all the way across your body, rolling your hips over to that left side. Stretch your right arm out behind you to a T-junction. And just enjoy a nice thoracic rotation or a lumbar rotation, whatever you're feeling is rotating the best today. Keep your left hand on the outside of your right knee, and you should feel quite a nice, intense stretch, either through the hip or the spine or up into the chest. Holding it there for a few seconds. Nice deep breaths in and out. During the day, we're not normally focused on how we breathe, so try and spend the hours that we do exercise and stretches and core stability movements using our breath correctly and filling our lungs entirely and emptying them entirely. It's quite an important capacity building exercise. And then you can help that right knee to come back. Just give it a push with your left hand. Then you can place your right leg down onto the floor, bend your left leg, and just cross your left ankle onto your right knee. Lifting that right knee up and holding behind the right thigh. Holding it there for just a few seconds. Get quite aggressive into that stretch. Pull that knee up towards your chest. And then bending your left elbow a little bit, you could push out on that knee or on the inner thigh of the left leg. And you could maybe get a little arch into the lower back. So just feel a big stretch into those glute muscles or into the hips. Sometimes people feel this one more in the groin. So there's no right or wrong answer generally with stretching. Unless you're targeting a specific muscle, then we adjust the stretch to get to that specific muscle. But if we're doing a general stretch, then it depends on what muscles are tight as to what you'll feel stretching. Holding it there, almost done. And then you can just gently release that right leg. You're going to take your left knee and hold it tightly up to your chest. Straighten your right leg all the way down to the mat and pull that left knee up tightly as you can. Just hold it there in a straight up to your chest stretch first. And then you could slide that left knee out towards your left armpit maybe hook it with your arms, so kind of whatever feels comfortable. Keep the right shoulder down and the right hip down as you try and pull that left knee to up and over your shoulder. That's where you are trying to get it to head for. And you'll feel quite an intense groin stretch probably on this one. Try and lengthen down and out through that right leg. So you're trying to get your right ankle away from your left knee. You'll feel it stretching a little bit more into that right hip if you do that. And then you can slowly just bring it back to the center. Grab a hold of that left knee with your right hand and let your hips just roll all the way over to the right side. Just go slowly over with this one, because often you'll feel your spine click a little bit. And those clicks are not unhealthy, but you don't want to rush through that. Try and let your left shoulder come down towards the mat and the left knee go down towards the mat on the other side. But again, not forcing this one. So this one we don't get too aggressive on. We just rest into that rotation. And again, focusing on nice deep breaths. And then you can slowly just help that left knee to come up with your right hand. Bring it back to the mat. Slide your hips underneath you so that you're nice and straight, and bring both knees up to your chest and hug them up as tightly as you can. You could lift your head and your shoulders so you tuck yourself right up into a little ball. Just see how that feels. Nice rounded position. And then you can hold behind your thighs, give yourself a little kick, and sit yourself all the way up. Swing the legs around and tuck the feet underneath you. I want you just to roll the heels over the balls of your feet. So releasing those toes. To see how that feels on the ankles and on the feet and on the balls of the feet. So you're holding quite a lot of your weight on your hands and on your fingertips. You don't want to be putting a ton of pressure into those feet. And then changing direction. So drawing those circles with your heels around and over. Just being kind to the body, so not forcing it. And then you can place your hands flat onto the mat, lower your knees down, release your feet out the back, stretch yourself forwards into your rest position. So just find a nice stretch under the arms. You might want to lift the heels of your hands. You get more of a shoulder stretch. So if you go up onto your fingertips, then it forces your shoulders into slightly more of an extension. Just hold for a second or two and then release those heels of your hands back down and walk your hands around to the right side, keeping your shoulders square to the mat. Keep the bum down towards your heels if you can, and just feel a nice stretch on the left side of your body. Nice deep breaths in, filling the left side of your lungs if you can, stretching out between those ribs. And then walking the hands all the way back to the center, and then going all the way across to that left side. Walking the hands around, keep the bum down, keep the shoulders square to the mat. Feel a big stretch down the right side, so into the right rib cage. You might even feel it going down to the lower back. So this also is another one that kind of varies as to what is tense on the day. And also might change depending on any spinal curvatures or anything like that will feel easier to one side. And holding there for a few seconds. Nice deep breaths into that right side of your lungs or your rib cage. And then walking the hands all the way back to the center. Stretch all the way forward. One more time. Try and sink your chest down and your bum down and your
shoulders come down towards the mat. Your hands are as far forwards in front of your head as you can make them. Just another 2 breaths in and out. And then I want you to pull your tummy just a little bit tight. Imagine you're at the bottom of your roll down and you're going to slowly start restacking your spine. Start from your pelvis and slowly start pulling your hands towards your knees by restacking your spine. Sitting yourself up all the way, growing tall through the crown of your head, sitting up nice and straight. Arms can come out to the side. Deep breath in. Lengthen your spine up towards the ceiling. And breathing out. One more time. Breathing in. Fill up the rib cage. Connect the fingertips to the top. And breathing out. And there you have it, folks. Thank you for joining me. Happy Wednesday, halfway through the week.